When it comes to a good-looking tension, I'm going to show you just some things that you can adjust just a little bit. But before you do any adjustments of tension, just in case something doesn't look right on your seam, double check by opening up your machine and making sure that all the threads are running smoothly and through the guides. They're not linked around something. I know sometimes I get something kind of caught or double backed around it. And just double check the path all the way through your serger. Make sure your needles are at 2 different heights. Maybe if you haven't changed any needles, change those first. Do those before you start adjusting tension, especially if it really looks kind of totally out of place. If you start changing tensions and nothing happens, that is where, again, it's probably something else. Okay, common thing, let's start with the loopers. The idea is that you want the loopers to meet right along the edge, kind of the blue and the red kind of form a little chain or a link right along the edge of your fabric. That's right where you want it to be. But let's just go ahead and tighten up. Let's tighten up an upper looper. So what's going to happen is it's going to pull the red thread a little bit more to the top side. Now, tell you the truth, this is a lot easier to see when you do it with different colors because you can see, oh yeah, my red thread's coming up to the top. Maybe my blue one's too tight, obviously, because we've tightened it. But I can change this one of 2 ways. If this was at a normal tension, I could also tighten my red one to help pull it back to the other side where it should be, or back to the edge of the fabric. So when you go to tighten tensions or loosen them or adjust them, you can kind of go either way. You can loosen one, tighten in the other, and they kind of balance each other out. So here's another one that people often have. I'm going to really loosen let's just loosen one needle thread, my outside needle. And when we see the adjustment here, what's going to happen is on the back side you see these loops. We don't have that straight edge, the seam. Here's the perfect one. A little comparison as we would normally. And what's going to happen is when we open this up, we're going to see a lot of that needle thread, which, woo, that is not what we want at all. Oftentimes, instead of adjusting tension, because this would have normally been at a regular number, is that the thread is not deep enough into the tension disc. And if you look directly into your tension, if you have dials that are straight in front of you, you'll probably see this thread sitting outside the tension. So just kind of seat it by giving a little pull at the top, pull at the bottom, sink it in there. Tensions for the needles are much, much tighter than your loopers. So often when you thread, you don't get it down far enough. You lower the presser foot, the tensions close, and there's no thread in there, and that gives you crazy loops. You would also see crazy loops too on the needle threads. Let's do both needle threads this time just to compare what would happen here, because it always looks good on the top side, but it's the bottom side, or I should say the back side. See, everything looks fine here, but on the back we've got crazy links and loops that are just not holding that seam as it should. So check the threading. Mostly it's more the fact that the thread is not in the tensions than the fact that the tensions are just not normal. And if you have a serger that has the dials on the front, you're going to find yourself wanting to just double check and push them all through. But for these, that's one thing nice about the lay-in threading of this machine. You really have a nice, easy way to check tensions. And also, when you're going back to normal, put them all back to 4 and start fresh. Now, if your tensions, or I should say, if your threads are different weights, so let's say you're trying to use 4 pink threads because you really need it to all match, but you don't have pinks in all the same brand of thread, you're going to find yourself needing to probably adjust maybe a little bit here or there based on maybe one's a little thicker and one's a little thinner. And that's no problem at all, but you just need to have kind of that, what you're looking for on the front and on the back for a good looking stitch. That's not the good one. You want the other good one. But that straight line at the base is what looks good.